All right, before I get to my next guest, Paul Grangaard, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Positive Vibes Golf. Check them out online at positivevibesgolf.com and follow them on Twitter at pvibesgolf. Their head covers and putter covers are a unique way to keep your mind focused on positive thoughts. They're a great on-course training aid as well because they help you stay positive by putting positive, happy images in your mind. Every time you walk back to your golf bag, you're going to see the head cover. It's going to put a smile on your face. It's going to lessen the tension and really enjoy your round of golf because that's what it's all about. Just like Mitch just said, it's about having fun. Check them out online, again, at positivevibesgolf.com. I want to welcome our newest sponsor, 2 Under Men's Performance Briefs, the unofficial underwear of the PGA Tour. Worn by PGA Tour players like Ricky Fowler, David Toms, Jerry Kelly, William McGirt, Jason Kokrak, and Matt Everett, to name just a few. Your buddies are going to think you're a stud if they're even seeing you in your underwear, but that's another story. And your girlfriend and her wife is going to love the side effects, a visibly enhanced profile. The Joey Pouch technology provides the ultimate male asset management. It separates a man's most valuable assets from bodily contact to reduce unwanted skin-on-skin contact, providing less chafing, more control, and an altogether more luxurious feel. Start every round 2 under by wearing the coolest performance briefs on the market. Use code ONTHET20 to save 20% off your order at 2under.com. And that's the number 2, UNDR.com. All right, now back with me on the French Lick Resort guest line is Paul Grangaard. Paul has been one of my favorite guests over the years. We all got to know him when he was the CEO of Allen Edmonds Shoes. He saved that great American company from going bankrupt several years ago. He is now the founder and CEO of Circle Rock, which is a wonderful new men's clothing line featuring custom-made in the USA suits and shirts and sweaters, finely woven sweaters, which look absolutely fantastic, European-style outerwear, some very cool gifts that you've heard me talk about on the show before. Go online to check it out yourself at CircleRock.com, see what I'm talking about. It all looks absolutely outstanding, and I'm so excited that Paul is back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Good evening, Paul. How are you, my friend?
Hello, Chris. I'm well, my friend. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sir. So,
Good.
Paul,
let's go to Michigan.
Yeah, right? Do you hear, Mitch?
Yeah,
I have not played golf in Michigan, but it sounds fantastic.
Well, Allen Edmonds is on the other side of Lake Michigan, and I spent 9 years working there. The plant is right on the shore, and Lake Michigan is an amazing body of water. One day it looks like a mean Atlantic Ocean. Another day it looks like a northern Wisconsin lake, nice and smooth, like you could water ski on it. And I can just imagine on the other side there are all the sand dunes, as Mitch is describing, the kind of golf course that you can build with the lake right there and the sand dunes. It's got to be amazing. Really, really something to see, I'm sure. I haven't been there myself, but he makes it sound like we got to go.
Indeed. So, Paul, I want to get your thoughts. For those folks that weren't with us last time, and you've built this wonderful new brand, Circle Rock. Talk about the things that you do and what sets your brand apart from all the rest.
Well, it starts with Made in USA. Less than 3% of the clothing that's bought in the United States these days was made in this country. We really led over the last 20 to 30 years an entire industry, not just the final product, the manufacturers, but also the supply chain that went into it, go completely overseas. It traumatized a lot of communities around the country, particularly in the Northeast and in Carolinas, where the fabric industry was. And so those who survived, that last 3% is made by people who had to be absolutely terrific to hang in there. And so we work with artisans like that who know really how to make fantastic stuff. And they're in places that really need the job. My wife and I just dropped our daughter off in Washington, D.C. and decided we would drive back along the U.S. highways instead of along the interstate highways, Kentucky and Indiana and Illinois, Iowa, up to Minnesota where we live. And we went through some really great towns with gorgeous county seats, buildings, town halls, and just main streets all boarded up. And it just really shows So not only we talk in the Midwest about how the Midwest is flyover country, and the people concentrated on the coast, tend to fly from one side of the country to the other and just look down at us from 35,000 feet. Well, it's also a little bit true when people drive now on the interstates. You don't go through towns. You just whip along. You see the cornfields maybe, but you don't realize what's going on in those towns. And we really need to support these communities and these manufacturers, and it's worth it. They make great stuff. It's not like we're taking a step back when we do. So that's number one, is Made in USA. Number two is price value. We have taken a chunk of the margin out of our pricing because we go directly from the producers to the customer. We're not going through a major retailer with big mall leases and exclusive physical stores. We've got a physical store that we've just opened up, but it's in a neighborhood. It's got some really kind of quaint quirkiness to it, and frankly, it's less expensive. So we give this really high quality product, made in the USA, for a much lower price than you'd pay for any kind of similar quality from Italy or from those luxury brands that did ship their production off to Asia years ago. So that's number two. And then number three is I'm really concerned about the dialogue in the country today about just our psyche in this country, and I'm wondering who's inspiring us to be the best of who we can be. And certainly your listeners in the armed services deserve everybody's great respect, and they inspire us. But you pick up a paper today and you read about yet another #MeToo offender, and just a lot of negative stuff in the press, and I am fully aware, and I know a ton of really good men doing really good work for their companies, for their families, for their communities, and we want to highlight those people. We want to build our brand around those people, and we also want to talk about them. And if you go on our website, you'll see some interviews with some really impressive men with a lot of wisdom to offer. So that's part of our brand too, is just exactly who we're about, who are our customers, who's inspiring us, and who are the people we want to inspire also.
So there are a couple of things there that I want to get into a little bit deeper, Paul. Let's first stick with the fact that everything you guys do is here in the U.S. And I read on your website, again, it's circlerock.com. It says that in order to make the finest sweaters in the world, we had to go down the road to Winona, Minnesota. Talk about Winona, Minnesota.
Well, it's one of those communities. Fortunately, Winona has Winona State University there and another major college, and it's far enough away from the Twin Cities that it's been able to keep its nucleus of companies. There are a couple of great companies headquartered there, one of which is known pretty well around the country as Fastenal. And the owner and founder of Fastenal has been really generous to that community. They have a great arts program there. They got a Renoir in their art museum. They've got they do a Beethoven festival in the summer. So Winona is right on the Mississippi River. It's one of the oldest communities in what was once called the Great Northwest, when the Mississippi was, the main artery going down the middle of the country, and the railroads were heading west out to the forests and the lumber out in the Pacific Northwest. So Winona's a great town, and our manufacturer there has been in business 60 years, and it's a German immigrant who's now 80 years old who runs it. His name's Bernie Brenner, and Bernie has an amazing story to tell about being 5 or 6 years old when Patton's army came into, Third Army came into his town and liberated it in 1945, near Stuttgart, Germany, and he was aware that the adults in town were so relieved that it was the Americans who came to liberate their town that they got there before the Russians did, coming from the other side. They had heard what was going on in the eastern part of Germany and in Czechoslovakia and Austria. They just didn't want to be liberated, quote unquote, by the Russians. And the Americans brought their bubble gum and were friendly with the kids and kind to the people, and just brought a whole sense of relief And, there's still a future ahead of us, feeling to that town. And he said at that age, I want to be an American someday. He came to this country first as a salesman for the highest quality knitting machines in the country. And the Germans or in the world, and the Germans in their engineering, so in their manufacturing machinery. So he was representing them, and he got here, and he said, I'm going to stay. And he told his boss in Germany, I'm going to buy some of our own equipment, and I'm going to start a company. And he landed in Winona, Minnesota, and of course he met a Minnesota girl, and they got married, been married now for probably 50 years, and they've got kids who have grown up and have grandchildren. He has that eye of a German engineer for quality and for attention to detail that you can't imagine. And he's never wavered. He has always kept those really high standards. He didn't try to compete with Asia production by going down quality. So the stitching, the knitting, the borders between the zipper and the sweater in a quarter zip sweater, these things are all immaculately done. He says, and anybody out there is listening and knows about manufacturing, you always have tolerances in manufacturing. He says, we don't have tolerances here. If you have tolerances, that means you're not serious about perfection. And although it's still something we're working on, he's 80 years old. He likes to say that they're going after perfection. And you can tell that in the sweaters that he makes. So we're thrilled that he's willing to partner with us. We sell them under our brand, Circle Rock, and I wear these sweaters. I get comments on them all the time. We sold them at a couple of golf courses, at their holiday boutiques that they held last year, and they flew off the shelves because people love them. That's one of the challenges we found in our business. I started off last year when you and I talked, trying to be an internet-only company, and you really have to see, touch, and feel the quality of our products. And so we've opened a store where people can do that now, and we hope that then leads to word of mouth, reviews online, and people trusting us a little more, because you can't quite see how incredible this stuff is when you look at it on a photograph online.
So let's take that to the next step, because people that are just learning about Circle Rock and just hearing about your company, whether maybe it's for the first time or we're refreshing their memories from the last time that you were a part of the show. You talk about the sweaters, because I've looked online many times, and the quarter zip and the V-neck sweaters look outstanding. We're getting ready to head into fall. Some parts of the country, I'm sure up in Minnesota and Michigan, they're starting to feel fall in the air. Those of us in the South are wishing for fall. But talk about what you have available, and what whether it's the V-neck sweaters, whether it's the quarter zip, whether it's the sweater vest that you have, which I've got my eye on, because for those of us who still like to play golf when it starts to get cold outside and don't like to be all jammed up in a jacket and feel our swings get a little more restricted, those sweater vests look great for that. Talk about what you have to offer.
Yeah. Well, we want to be known as the company for the smarter looking vest. The vest look is all over corporate America today, from September through April, generally, and particularly in the colder climate. It's become a sport coat replacement, and the sport coat was a suit replacement. So we moved from coat and tie in a suit to sport coats with open collar, to where now a lot of guys are wearing a vest with a nice shirt underneath it. And one thing about men in business casual is it's not very well defined for them, and a lot of guys don't really quite understand it. And you can see that when you're walking through business centers in America. There are a bunch of guys who think they're dressing for their peers, and forgetting that their peers don't give them promotions. It's not your 28-year-old friend or your 33-year-old friend who's still dressing the way both of you did in college, who's going to decide whether you're going to get the next promotion. It's actually somebody up the ladder. How does that guy dress? And how's the guy above him dress, or her? And you got to think about that. So, and by the way, there have been studies done that how you present yourself makes a huge impact on people. It's usually subconscious, but it's real and it matters. So, if you're in a career where everybody your age is wearing a hoodie sweatshirt, I wouldn't wear a hoodie sweatshirt because it's probably not what the person who runs the firm is wearing. And you want to dress for the job you want, not for the job you have, is one of the rules of dressing. So these vests now, a lot of guys are wearing vests that are better suited to doing something outside rather than working in the office and presenting to your best client or to somebody up the chain. So we want to help guys pick higher quality vests, not something you'd wear on a hiking trip, not something you'd wear to sweat in, but something you'd wear to impress your clients or impress a woman at the bar in the evening. So these things are sweaters. We also have vests now that are made out of beautiful woolen sport coat fabric that are made in the outer islands of the Hebrides in Scotland. And, we all love Scotland in the golfing world. I was just there again this summer and walked up and down St. Andrews. I had back surgery, so I wasn't able to play, but I stood there longingly and looked at the course. These fabrics from Scotland are made in cottages all around these islands off the northwest coast of Scotland near the Isle of Skye. And they're just gorgeous. And you put one of those into a vest, no sleeves. You wear a shirt that complements it well, and you'll blow the opposite sex and your colleagues away with how sharp you look. So that's something we're really focused on. We also do great sport coats. We do in the sweater. We have something we call a swacket, which is the sport coat motif is changing these days, and we've come up with a sport coat that's actually knit like a sweater. So it hangs really casually. It feels great. It breathes because of all the space between the way things are knit together. It's not hot at all, and it's really a fantastic garment. And they're just coming on the market, and we've got them. And then back to Made in USA, we worked with a supplier in Brooklyn to come up with this fabulous jacket that we call the Rosso jacket, named after one of the famous hockey towns in northern Minnesota. This thing, it comes in a beautiful olive green or a dark navy. And I was told by many experts in the industry, this is one of the things I love about our company and what we're trying to do. I was told by many experts in the industry, if you want to get something like that, with that fine a stitching, with the quality and with the touches of leather, linings in certain spots and around the collar, you can't do that here. That capability has left America. You can only get it done in Asia now, and or for a ton of money in Italy. And I said, I don't believe that. And I went to a supplier we knew, and he said, I'll take it on as a huge challenge. And wow, he really nailed it, knocked the cover off the ball. 330-yard drive down the middle, Chris. It's really something.
That's all.
So, yeah.
Paul, so there's a couple other things about the shirts. And first of all, when I look at your dress and your casual shirts, one of the things it says is they're made 100% cotton chambray. Talk about what chambray is.
Chambray is, there are two kinds of really sharp-looking cotton that are a little more casual. One is Oxford cloth, which is woven, or it's put together with thicker threads than you usually see in a dress shirt. It's your classic old, back in the days when people wore preppy outfits. That's the Oxford cloth shirt. And over the years, people have made a ton of money betting on the idea that Americans don't pay much attention to quality. And so the quality of that Oxford cloth has gotten thinner and thinner over time. You wear through the elbows really quickly. I know that from firsthand. Early in my career, I wore nothing but these Oxford cloth shirts. It's your classic button-down shirt, and I didn't realize it, but I was sitting at a meeting with all the higher ups, the partners in our firm, and one of them lifted my arm up and pointed my elbow at our boss and said, if this isn't an indication that we need to raise our base salaries, I don't know what is, because my elbow was 4 inches through my cheaper Oxford cloth shirt. So we've gone back to get the really high quality Oxford cloth shirt, and they're Georgia cotton. It's an American cotton, and they're made in this small town in North Carolina, Garland, North Carolina, where the company employs more people than the population of the town. So you can imagine how important that factory is to that town and the area around it. So that's one of them. A chambray shirt is, the kind of shirt that you see out west a lot. It's that sky blue. It's a feeling similar to Oxford cloth, but it's really, I think it's one of the most comfortable fabrics. It's more casual, no question about that, than pinpoint, cloth, broadcloth shirts or Oxford cloth shirts, but it's something you can wear. Again, back to this vest idea. You wear the right color chambray with a cool vest, and you're nailing it. They look great. So they tend to come in colors like blue, black. Sometimes they're done with mother of pearl buttons and a sort of cowboy pocket on each side. Sometimes they're done more with a brown button flow, which is how we're doing them these days. Dark brown button flow, which brings out a little bit of the Western feel to them. So, I went to college out west. We're sort of on the edge of it here in Minnesota. My wife and I are about to drive out to Yellowstone in a week and stop at Sandhills and try to see if my back can play some golf on the way, talking about fescue fairways. And I'm going to get a chambray shirt and wear it out there because that's where they look great.
And Paul, when you buy your shirt, you can choose not only your exact sleeve and neck size, none of this 32, 33 or whatnot for your sleeve size, but you can also customize what color you like, the cuff style you want, if you want a pocket or no pocket, color of the buttons, what color the thread is going to be for those buttons. You can completely customize the shirt for how you want it. Talk about that.
Yeah, with the demise of the necktie, shirts now look kind of plain up front, and we all like having our collar open, but especially if you're wanting to impress a little more, that row of buttons is an opportunity to show some style, show some personality in a way that you might have with how you selected your ties in the old days. So a blue checked shirt, what's called the gingham shirt, or which is a checked shirt, or a shirt with tattersall, which is a wider check shirt, or a striped shirt. You can really pull out the color of pattern by matching the button to one of the colors in the pattern, rather than just having white buttons as you would have in the old days. Similarly, you can accent the button by choosing a different color for the buttonhole or for the thread that holds the button onto the shirt. So there are a bunch of ways to play your look and ways to make it unique to you, rather than just be the same as and these shirts are pretty common now. People are all wearing them, so it's possible you wear the exact same shirt as somebody else if you don't do something custom. So one guy likes a pocket, another guy doesn't want a pocket. One guy likes the little extra flap that goes down the front. It's called a placket on the button row. Another guy likes that just goes smoothly over to the buttons and the buttonholes and not have that extra ribbing along the way. So no placket. Some guys like cuffs with two buttons north to south. Other guys don't want two buttons on their coat. They just want one, or on their cuff. So we let you choose all of that stuff. So it's really your own shirt, and we don't charge extra for any of those touches, which is completely unusual, unique in the industry. Everybody says, sure, you can customize. It's $5 for that. It's $20 for this. Now for us, that's the cost of the shirt, and we'll make it the way you like.
Paul, for our listeners now that are dying to go out there and see all the great stuff that you have, talk about your website and how they can stay up to date with all the wonderful products and the things that you guys have available.
Well, the website is simply circlerock.com. And if I can, I'll tell you real quick how we came up with that name. I grew up on a street when I was a kid that had we were at the edge of a circle. And it was 1/8 of a mile around the pavement, and in the inside was all grass. It was unofficial park. It's where I first learned to play ball. The older kids taught the younger kids how to play games, and it was really where the community came together. And there was this big rock in it in the northwest quadrant. It was not smack dab in the middle, which was one of my curiosities. And I always wondered, where did this rock come from? Why did they leave it here? If it was here naturally, why weren't there more? And there was only one when we moved into this house, and I didn't leave it until I went to college at age 18. So I spent a lot of time looking at that rock, wondering how it got there. And I think curiosity is a big hallmark of our country and what makes us special. Our creativity is what sets us apart from other countries in terms of our economy. Innovation is what makes us great in so many ways here in this country. And that all starts with trying to solve problems and wondering about the world. And I can't even remember how old I was when I first wondered where this rock was. But the other thing was the community coming together in circle. Every summer we had a circle picnic. As I mentioned, we played all sorts of neighborhood games there. It brought us all together, and that's what we're trying to do with this content side of our company. So CircleRock.com, sign up for our mailing list. Every week we send out interesting information. This week we talked about the origin of the curveball. As much as I love baseball, I didn't realize that for the first 50 years of baseball, the pitcher's job was really just to throw the ball over the plate and let the hitter hit it and the fielders field it. There was no big attempt to strike people out until somebody started putting some juice on the ball. So the origin of the curveball was an article that we did this week. We've also done articles about heroes in the armed services. We've done articles about things you ought to think about. Another one recently was, 100 great places to visit in the world that you maybe never heard of. So we add that to our content about, how to dress and what we're featuring this week among our product line. So you can get on our mailing list. Love to have you. We've got about 10,000 people now on our mailing list, and we want to keep that growing. And also, when I say mailing list, I mean our email mailing list, and we're starting to send out catalogs. So we'd love to have your name and address. And we're offering these chambray shirts you mentioned and the Oxford cloth shirts. We want to get them out in people's hands. We want people to get familiar with the brand. So we're selling them for unbelievably low prices right now, not very much above our cost. Somebody's got to pay for the light bill, so there is a small profit in there, but I'll tell you, they're an unbelievable value at the price we're selling for right now. So buy a shirt and see how you like it. Compare it to what you might get at the mall at one of the big brands that you know, and what you would pay for a high quality shirt like that, and see what you think.
Well, Paul, it's always a privilege to get to spend some time with you and learn about the things that you're doing, whether it was back in the day when I first met you at Allen Edmonds or now with Circle Rock, the things that you do from a community standpoint, that kind of the glue in a lot of these communities. You mentioned the one up in North Carolina where there are more people that are employed than that live in the city. Those are wonderful stories, and it's fantastic that when, as you talked about at the top, only 3% of the clothes manufactured are actually done here in the U.S., and one of your main things is to stay here and be made in the USA. It's a wonderful story. You do a great job, and I can't thank you enough for continuing to come back and educating us on the great things that you're doing and the great products that you have, and then what you're doing around the country to keep jobs here in the USA. It's all fantastic.
Chris, it's such an honor and a privilege to be on your show, and knowing who your audience is. It's just, I want to thank them all for their service to our country. And I want to tell you, those are the real heroes. So thank you for your nice words. But yeah, I really consider this a major privilege to be able to be on your show. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, Paul. Take care, my friend. Look forward to catching up with you again soon. In between now and then, all the best to you and your family.
Okay, you too, Chris. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Paul. That's Paul Grangaard. And like I say, the things that he has done for the Allen Edmonds Company and now for Circle Rock, keeping manufacturing jobs right here in the U.S. and making great products with high quality. Now let's start there, right? When you heard about the story with his shirts and the poor quality and the tearing at the elbows and that sort of thing, we're not talking about shirts that you're going to go to Walmart or Target or places like that to buy. These are high quality, beautiful shirts. And like I say, when I peruse CircleRock.com and take a look at their dress shirts, their casual shirts, the vests are fantastic. And again, for those of us that are jonesing for fall, right, and for those of us in parts of the country that are getting a taste, go out there and take a look at those sweater vests, because you're going to continue to play golf as it gets a little bit colder and colder throughout the rest of late summer and into fall, right? And if you're like me and you don't like the restriction of all the layers and all that around your shoulders when you're trying to make the turn and that sort of thing, you really want a nice, comfortable vest to have on to play. Fantastic stuff on CircleRock.com with their vests. And like I say, the opportunity to completely customize your shirt, like Paul talked about, whether you like the placard or not, or one button or two buttons or different color buttons or all of the different things that you can customize at no additional cost on top. Fantastic stuff, folks. So again, CircleRock.com is the place. Paul Grangaard is the guy, and he's been a wonderful friend, for the last several years, and really looking forward to continuing to catch up to hear how that brand grows and grows and grows. All right, folks, it is time for me to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks go out again to Eric Johnson, Mitch Lawrence, and Paul Grangaard for joining me tonight. Please check out our website, nextonthetee.net, to keep up to date with who we got coming on, what our guest schedule looks like. Please also check us out all over the net. If you've got a place that you love listening to podcasts, you're going to find us everywhere. Podbean, our great friends there, for featuring the show right there on their app. Can't thank those guys enough. Launchpad.com, that's picked up the show. Please click subscribe right there when you go on that site for our show. We really appreciate the fact that more and more people are subscribing. It means a great deal to us as well. But you can also find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audioboom, Player.fm. We're all over the net. So please check us out there on whatever podcasting site you love the most. Folks, as always, I can't thank you enough for making us a part of your golfing content. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friend.
You've been listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA pros and top instructors and media members go to tell their stories. Join us the same time every Tuesday to hear more stories about the game we love from people who love sharing those stories with you. It's all about the great game of golf. It's all about